Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome in. Doing a little extra fun today. So I wanted to pop on. This is the time that worked for me. So I like to always tell everybody why I'm on. So there you go. There you have it. I have a special guest joining me today, everyone. Hello. We have been working on putting together this live for a couple weeks now. Yes. Good morning, Willie B. Hello. Yeah, it should be fun, Steffi. We'll see. We'll see. It should be pretty fun. I have a hard time like not dominating the situation, so I need to work on that. But hopefully I will do okay today. We'll see. Fingers crossed, right? Oh, thanks, John. Hello, welcome. Jessica, hello. Welcome. Hello, Jennifer. Things have been kind of weird this last week. Yeah, I think it'll be great. It'll be great. He's very understanding. Good morning. Hello, Thomas. Welcome in. Hello, everybody. Good morning, Kate. Good to see you. That was so cute. What was cute? What, am I being cute? I don't. Is there a cat around you that's being cute? We love the cats. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh wow. Let me just bump this up. Oh, there it went. That was so fun. Thanks, John. Howdy, Connor. Oh my goodness, everybody. Woo! Gotta get some of the lights on. A lot of people don't realize this, but this is actually a tree. A tree that's got lights on it. Cat ears in the paws. Oh yeah. That's a good one. That is a good one. We like that one. For sure. For sure, Z's. We enjoy. But yes, this is actually a tree here. Some people were thinking it was Christmas, and it's not. It's just for fun. Hello, Dolores. I feel like we really need to grab onto the fun as much as humanly possible. Yikes. Oh, you're in DC for a week. How'd that go? Oh, good. Yeah, that was the first time. Yeah, I love those. Well, hopefully DC was okay. I don't know. It's kind of getting weird there. Like it was already weird, but now it's like extra weird. Like weird plus extras in the DC situation. So maybe because of that, the people that live there will acknowledge that, there's some trouble in River City brewing. I doubt it, but, keep the dream alive, right? Keep it alive, everybody. Oh, it felt weird. It was your first time. I've never been to DC. I know. But I've never been to it. I've, driven around it. Like, I think it was over to the left. But well, of course. But I've never actually been parked and stopped and looked around. So the East Coast is difficult for me, everybody. They're so little. They're just these little tiny states. Don't get me wrong, you're mighty, but hello, hi J Jack. Hello, hi Bryan. Are you ready? Are you ready to come on up? Could you let me see if I can do this. Could you do a guest request? Maybe that might help me. Let me see, because I am so not good at this kind of stuff. Here we go. Let's see. There we are. We might have done it. Oh, we did an invitation. I'm so proud of us. There we go. I should have sent an invite out for you. Oh, there you are. Hello. Hi, Bryan. How
Yeah.
you doing?
Can you hear me? Is my
Maybe.
audio coming?
Okay,
Let's see.
hold on. There we go. Let me see if I can do. I'm not sure I can make you bigger. Hold on. Let me sort this out.
Can you
We
hear
can
me
hear.
though? That would be a start.
Yep,
Okay.
they can hear you. So
All right, that's a
that's
good start.
good. Very good. Yes. So hold on
I
here.
can be tiny.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Right. Siberio,
Hey,
you
Allison.
weirdo.
It's not somebody.
All right, I'm gonna keep working here. I know I can do it. I believe in me. So,
I believe in you, and
oh,
I would have had
thanks.
no idea what to do. So, you were like, "Can you do a guest request?" And I was like, "I can
What?
start. I can start pushing buttons till something works."
Same.
And that's usually, how I get through TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
push things until something does something. Hope for
Right.
the best.
Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm gonna have to ask the chat. Hey chat, do you know how to make the little box to a bigger box? Can you help a girl out over here? I know. We don't do
Make
tech
my
that
head
great.
bigger.
Oh, hello. Hi, Betharoni. All right. So I'm gonna keep doing this. Boy, I tell you, Amanda does it.
Nora is right. Lawyers and tech,
Ex-
seriously.
exactly.
And I think of myself as a relatively tech savvy lawyer as lawyers go. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, that is not saying much. It's like
Mm.
they take some of it out of your brain when you go through law school.
Yeah, I think so. I think they did. All right, hold on here. Whole family of lawyers. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
I'm getting
that is a
distracted
lot.
by the chat. All right, I got to focus, focus. All right, here we go. Well, you might just have to be little. I apologize. I'm sorry. Everybody, look at Bryan. Give him a follow.
Hello.
Oh my gosh. All right, all right, all right. Well, welcome in, Bryan. I'm glad to
Thank
see
you.
you,
It's
even in
good to see you too.
your miniature form down there.
My tiny self.
That's right. We're waving at you.
How was your trip?
It was good. It was really
Awesome.
good. Hold on a second. I'm going to hit expand. All right. Hey, now I'm in the little
Well, now you're
box.
you're tiny. That's not better.
All right. Well, I pushed a button. It worked, right? All right, hold on here. Let me see now.
My head is bigger. That's helpful.
There we go.
That's what we needed.
All right, we'll just flip it back and forth. So my trip was great. Thanks for asking. The family, we all went out to the Colorado to look at the mountains, and that was great. So
Excellent.
it was
Colorado
wonderful.
is beautiful.
Yes, yes. So, but you're in DC. We just had
Hmm.
someone on here say
I
they were in DC for a whole week. So
I
how is
caught
it
a
over
moment of
there?
that. It so actually, well, aside from the possible, military takeover that's going on, the
Mm,
weather has been really nice for the last few days, like unusually nice. We have really oppressive summers, and
mm-hmm.
the last, I'm gonna say, maybe week, it's been getting down into the mid 60s at night, which has been awesome.
Mid
So
60s. That's happiness.
yeah, so at night we just kind of actually we've been leaving the windows open all the time and just kind of letting it get cold enough at night and sort of sweating it through the day. Um, oh, that reminds me. Can you hear the air conditioner running in the background? I meant to turn it off, but if it's not,
Well, I
I
certainly can't.
okay. I turned on a window unit because with the lights on, it gets a little hot in here. Um,
Okay. Nope, they
but
can't. They
okay,
can't. Good
all
job.
right. Um, I'm just using AirPods today so that I can hear instead of my microphone. My microphone picks up a lot more. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that's been nice. Um, Slightly less nice is that we might be under a bit of a military takeover, which is a concern.
For
Um,
DC itself?
yeah, they there was a I don't even want to say his name. The young gentleman who worked for Doge who went by a fun little nickname about his swimsuit area.
How
Uh,
about we call him Mr. Pool?
okay, yeah. Um, he uh, he got beaten up by a group of kids the other night.
Really? Oh, I missed that.
And as a result, now the president has decided that DC is a crime-ridden hellhole and needs to be taken over by federal troops or federal agents.
That's
And
interesting.
so, yeah, so they're um, putting out all sorts of federal agents into the city and starting to do some sort of, which is not going to be pleasant. And this is not the last administration. He did the same thing a little bit. and it was
Mm-hmm.
really very scary then. Um, so, this is kind of the one area that he has a lot of control over, and he last time discovered that near the end,
Yeah, at the
and
very end.
started. I mean, we had. I remember one night, my next door neighbor and I were in the backyard, our respective backyards, and there were these military helicopters hanging over our houses. It was really scary, very upsetting. Um, and just that night was very scary. There were uh, tanks downtown, some sort of big military vehicles downtown. I've been told they weren't actually tanks; they looked like tanks. So I don't know. So yeah, we're not looking forward to that. Oh, look at that! But otherwise, the weather's been lovely.
Oh, good,
So
good.
yeah,
Well, and you got to really pick out what's good. Like there are some days where
gotta
I
find
say
some way to get through the day.
exactly, like my cup of coffee was excellent this morning.
Yeah, you know.
Excellent ratio. Coffee to cream, I perfected it, and that makes me happy. Yeah, there's a lot going
Hmm.
on. Cheers. Ah,
Gotta find the good.
that's right. That's right. So yeah, DC's interesting because there've been a lot of people that have proposed adding rights to DC, and they're slowly getting that going. But with the actual authority over DC being Congress, that's like yowzers.
It is. Yeah, it makes for a complicated series of legal and constitutional questions, and um, questions that I don't always have answers to. People like to ask me. I don't know, sometimes I don't know.
Yes, I
Um,
think it's fun when you're a lawyer. People will just come up and say, "So my neighbor did this, that, and the
yeah.
other," and I'm like, "Okay." Or
My one of
can I
Yeah,
call you at 2 a.m. in the morning? I'm like, "For what?"
one of my professors used to call them cocktail questions, and she used to
Oh,
give them. She used to. Some days she would hand out cocktail party questions to us to do as little exercises. Yeah, it was a writing
oh,
class. Yeah.
nice, very
Uh,
nice. All right, so let's get into it, Brian. Are you ready? Okay,
I'm ready.
like, let's do this.
Oh, here it is.
So, welcome in, everybody. Here is my wonderful, fun guest, Mr. Brian. Hopefully, you're already subscribed over there. This is our first live together, but not our last, I have a
No,
feeling.
I'm excited.
Yes. So today we wanted to talk about defamation. There's so much going on with defamation right now, so many lawsuits that have happened. And of the specific defamation we're going to be talking about is the Wall Street Journal situation with the Murdoch and such. So, Mr. Orange has lots of different lawsuits up and running right now regarding him being uh, the defamer. And we've got the Central Park 5 case going. We're still working on the E. Jean Carroll cases, those are still going. So, there's a lot. He's also filed a lot of lawsuits. One was Stephanopoulos, I think I'm going to say his
Mhm.
name wrong.
Yep. Nope,
Uh,
that's right.
and then CNN, he had sued in the past down in Florida, but that was dismissed and sanctions were given to Mr. Orange and his attorney. So he's no stranger to it. So why can you take us through maybe what the overall complaint is that he has filed? And I have it here.
Yes. So the overall complaint is that the Wall Street Journal published an article that stated that I'm sorry, 2000, I want to say five, um, something like that. President Trump sent a sort of dirty birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein. Uh, the argument by the Trump administrator, by Mr. Trump himself, is that he spoke to the newspaper ahead of time and told them that this piece of information was false. And therefore, according to him, that is absolute evidence that the information was false. Just that. That is the only thing that he cites in this thing, is that he told them it was false, and therefore they knew that it was false and printed it anyway. And to have known for sure that it was false and printed anyway could be, I guess, libel in this case. Uh, But of course, just hearing from one party who obviously would have a lot to gain by having this not printed or a lot to lose by having it printed is not evidence on its own that it is false. I would imagine, although I don't know myself, that these guys had some other evidence on the other side and that they weighed those two pieces of evidence and decided that there was enough in place to go ahead and print it anyway. So the question here is whether or not the printers of the wall, the publishers of the Wall Street Journal, um, printed this knowing that this was false information, um, and did so. We use the term malice, actual malice, but and that is rooted, I think, in a kind of older use of malice, like they did it because they wanted to hurt him. But today we use it in a slightly different manner, to mean essentially that they really, really knew it was false and they printed it anyway. So that's just kind of the big
Perfect.
overview of what happened.
Perfect. And it's interesting that you bring up that, malice is kind of old school because I found in the complaint multiple pieces written like super old school. So
Yeah,
I'm wondering if there were perhaps, I don't know who the attorney is, but I keep thinking it must have been a dinosaur that wrote it. I have a category of attorneys who are super, super elderly that should probably step away from their law firms, and I call them dinosaurs.
I have a slightly different theory on this attorney, and I don't know why until you said that. I wish I had actually looked up the person and seen what they looked like. Because one of the things that happened while I was researching this, and I'd sort of forgotten about this until about 2 minutes before we came on here, and I remembered it, was like, I wish I'd gone back and gotten this ready. I went back and looked at the complaint in the ABC case.
Hmm.
And I started sort of flipping through it, and I realized that page for page, it was almost an exact copy of the complaint in this case,
Yes.
down to the exhibits. I mean,
Ooh.
they had used the different exhibit, the exhibits from this one, but I mean, it was still the printed exhibits. It looked exactly the same, and particularly on the actual counts at the end, which are a little weird, were almost exactly the same. I thought, well, that is strange, till I
Mhm.
realized it's the same attorney.
Yes.
So this is just, I think, one guy that Trump hires to file all of his defamation cases and probably copies and pastes and just fills in a couple of different details and then charges him a huge hourly.
Right.
Allegedly. Um, I'm just guessing
Absolutely.
here. But
Absolutely. And in his criminal cases, it was interesting to watch because we had four criminal cases, two were federal. And in those federal cases, he was putting in defenses that were identical. So he would file the
yeah,
same thing in Florida as in DC. So he does that a lot. But
a
with
lot.
the defamation piece, though, you still, I mean, you can't just cut and paste. You've got to be more specific because defamation's hard to win. And so you want to make sure your complaint is solid. But you're right. I mean, this definitely has some copy pasting going on for
Yeah.
sure. Now,
Um,
one of the things that I thought we could talk about would be what the test is for defamation when you have a public figure.
okay.
And I also, yes, and I was also wondering if we could start out with this idea, is he a public figure that would fit under the test? So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. So I did a little video on this, so I apologize if anybody saw that and I'm repeating myself. But
Oh,
um,
repeat, repeat.
we started out. I almost want to take a step back. All right, I'm just going to throw this in there. It's a little too far back, but just for the record, the reason that it's important to go this far back is that this whole idea of seditious libel started as one thing, and we decided essentially to switch it all the way the other way at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the law makes a conscious decision to flip from one side of the spectrum all the way to the other, you got to pay attention to that. When it's something is
Absolutely.
that intentional. And so this thing that we once called seditious libel back in like the 1600s, 1500s, something like that, was very specifically designed by politicians, by people in Parliament to protect themselves.
Right.
And it essentially made it a crime or tort or whatever to say something bad about the government, kind of whether it was true or not. And that's where we started.
Right. And I think honestly, we have a little bit of that still with the immunity that representatives and senators have when they're speaking on the floor.
And
Because,
yeah, that is the little bit, the little whisper of it that still remains.
right, right.
And that's, yeah. But as far as outside people, as far as the press talking about particularly elected officials,
Hmm.
we decided as we were kind of going from pre, pre-constitutional America into like our more modern America, um, to sort of flip that over and say that we wanted to protect people who said bad things about politicians as long as they were the truth.
Right.
And so that's a that's a flip. And we start over time to protect them more and more and more. And that is part of what creates our First Amendment. It's part of the discussion that leads to our First Amendment. That's kind of why we have it. It's all kind of thrown in there in that discussion. And I had somebody I remember complain on that video that I was talking about the First Amendment too much. And the problem is that that's really
That's
where
what it
this all
is.
comes from. Yeah.
And
Um,
I think a lot of people tend to forget how the rights actually work. You know, they forget that it needs to be some kind of a government piece to it. And
yeah,
also the fact that there are exceptions. And it seems like, oh, I've got First Amendment rights of freedom of speech. But what about the exceptions? And this is one of the biggest exceptions to the First Amendment. And so you can't have one without the other to see
yeah,
how important that defamation is.
it's all wrapped up.
Hmm.
Um, but okay, so with that all in mind, um, we started around the 1960s with Sullivan v. New York, where essentially well, what happened is that the New York Times printed, it was actually an ad. It wasn't even an article. Um, but these people had taken out a full page ad or half page ad in the New York Times about a an elected official, kind of a low level of elected official in Alabama. And a lot of it was true. A lot of the things they said about him were true, but some of them were objectively false. Um, and they were all about his job, him doing his job. And they all said, he had done all these terrible things as part of his job, and some of them were false. So he sued the New York Times. And the judge said, you know what? Some of these things were absolutely false, but uh, the New York Times didn't know that. There was really no reason for them to know that. They didn't try to print something false. And it's so important for us to be able to read information in the newspaper about our elected officials that we're going to go in the side of protecting the people who print that stuff. We're going to weigh more on that side and require a, a higher standard when we're dealing at this point in Sullivan with an elected official who is doing their job. Right at the beginning, it was narrowed to only a person who was an official capacity and talking about doing their work, what their work was, not kind of their personal life and that sort of thing.
Right.
That was right at the beginning, and we're gonna lean on the side of protecting the other side. And they came up with this actual malice standard. They said it has to be printed with actual malice, and malice would mean that either the person who printed it factually knew, like we have some sort of evidence that they went in there. I know this is false, and I'm going to print it anyway. We have a letter, just write, I would say email, but at the time,
Email, what's
or
that?
right, yeah, or that it was just so, they went in there with just so much. There's an exact phrase for it, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they just didn't even try to make sure that it was correct. And there is an exact wording for it, but something like that.
Right. The
So,
way that I've tended to look at it, and let me know if your thoughts are the same, is that when it comes to malice with these cases, they're talking about the intentional tort level where it's
yeah,
such a negative intent, but then also the negligence piece where they should
yeah,
have gone in and checked to make sure it was correct. So
knew or
you're
should have known.
right,
That's
right.
good old tort one, or tort law, right?
101.
Uh, and everybody who hasn't been through a tort law class, you hear knew or should have known a lot.
Right.
So that's where we
Reckless,
start.
reckless disregard for the truth, right?
Yeah. But then they expand that a little bit because first they go into a couple of cases where they say, well, we think this is so important, this whole thing about spreading information about our elected officials, that they kind of broaden it to really anything about an official, an elected official. Then they broaden it a little bit further and they go to any, gosh, I'm forgetting the phrases, but it's anybody who's a public person, essentially. And
Hmm.
they really broaden this to just anybody who's kind of out in the public. And they do it under two theories, which are if you have access to the press, like you have a press team and you're using the press, then you don't get to complain when the press uses you back.
Hmm.
And the other is if you went into the public domain on purpose. So, if somebody dragged you in there kicking and screaming, we'll give you a little more protection. If you ran for office, if you became an actor or a sports figure or something, you kind of signed up for this. So
Right.
any of those kind of public personas, and that's not the right phrase, but I can't think of the right phrase, um, are now going to be included in this, and they're all going to have to get that reach that actual malice standard. And then they even went a little bit further and said sometimes we're even going to do this for public issues. So some issues are just so public that we're not even going to we're going to raise the standard on those too. And it's just the public needs to know about this issue so much that if a couple of facts get in there that aren't correct, but the people who put them in there put in some effort to make sure they were correct, we're going to let that go. It's more important the public has access and that we have a free flow of information.
Right.
So that's
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. So, and with that, then the question becomes in this case with the Wall Street Journal, and it's got multiple names. I'm just going to refer to it as the Wall Street Journal because, there's a lot of
yeah,
names. But we're talking about this
yeah.
lawsuit. It's interesting how Mr. Orange is saying, well, this is hurting my reputation. But is it your reputation as a private person or as the president? Because he's referring to himself constantly as the president throughout the entire complaint. And that's a
Until
really big deal.
he does refer to him as a private person or as a public person, except that right on page one, or on page, I guess it's page three, the first one of the first places he's introduced, it says the under the
Mhm.
parties, it says plaintiff President Donald J. Trump is a private citizen of the United States. The
Right,
first thing he does is try to get that protection of a private citizen.
right.
And I believe I was a little bit confused later, and you may know a little bit more about this than I do. When we get into defamation per se and defamation per quote, that I think that's also part of trying to cover a lot of bases to see if he can get away with um, using kind of these other levels of protection and being treated as essentially a private citizen, which that man has not been a private citizen since the 80s.
Exactly, exactly. So that private citizenship that he's trying to play here is, I don't think it's going to work, but I can see how he's really throwing everything out there. And we had a huge issue with him as a private citizen in the New York cases as well,
Hmm.
where we came in and said, well, I don't think you're a private person. And the judges were like, yeah, you're not. So move that argument along. So I think that'll be one of the first things that they address in the lawsuit is whether or not he's a public or a private person. And his immunity will attach differently. Because if
Yeah.
he's doing something as a private person, then that presidential immunity stuff will not attach to him. But if he's doing it as the president, then you have to go through that second step of whether or not he's immune in a criminal case.
Do you have because this is the thing that I realized at the last minute that I should have gone back through and gotten my head around again. The I think it was the order in the ABC case. Um, so there's a judge who the ABC case was basically following the exact same thing, except if I'm not mistaken, it was a Trump appointee judge who released this order that is interesting.
I'm not sure I
And
get it.
okay, and I was trying. I remember I was trying to make sense of it, and unfortunately, I never made sense of it. And then I just remembered it right before we started here. But I, I I think what happened is that after this order came out, and I wish I could even remember what it was an order on. It was, probably a preliminary injunction or something. Um, that after that order came out, I think ABC realized that they had no chance and settled. But I
Well,
think that order is what brought that on because the judge was clearly going to be making a decision that was um, it was a motion to dismiss. It was she was denying a motion to dismiss. Um, and it was a slightly different set of facts, but it was still this order this the decision making here was
mm,
um,
yeah, I agree. I've been wondering what it was that flipped from we're going to fight this to, well, here's your money. Sorry. I've been wondering about that. And I think that happens, oh my gosh, don't get me started. It happens too many times right now. Let me ask you this though. We were talking about judges for a minute, and that takes us on a side quest. What are your thoughts about judges and who appoints them, and if that has an effect on their decisions? I'm just curious. As another attorney, what's your perspective on that?
I have historically um, not put a lot of weight into who um, appoints judges. I think that especially Article 3 judges, I find that even Supreme Court judges, as a general rule, my kind of conventional wisdom on this is that the first year or so they are much more partisan. By the second or third year, they start
Kind of
kind of make I
settling.
think yeah, I think they sort of make friends with the other judges, or at
Hmm.
least one or two of them, and all of a sudden and they start finding a couple of niches that they don't necessarily agree with the rest of their party on, and they realize, oh wait, this is a lifetime appointment.
Right.
There's nobody can come after me anymore, and they start to make decisions based on rationality. And so you'll usually see kind of right after a new judge comes into the Supreme Court, you'll see the number of unanimous decisions go down for like a year. And then that next year they start to come up, and the year after that they come up again. That has just been my experience. I have never done, a full dive on that to make sure that I'm correct, but that's
Oh,
just sort of
sure.
been what I've seen.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
I think you're right too. One thing though, I would, remind people that aren't doing a lot of I did a lot of trial work in criminal law
mhm,
and administrative law. It's not really trial if it's in front of an arbitrator. Well, whatever. We'll put that for the next
close
time.
enough.
So, and what you've noticed is there are judges that were saying, oh my gosh, this one got my case. This is going to suck. Or I'm so glad this one got my case. We're going to be okay. And so I think that constantly happens anyway. But now when we're looking to the federal judges and we're looking at SCOTUS, people are like, really frustrated by it when we're seeing it's kind of always been that way. And we
Well,
figure out a way around it.
and the other thing is that, regardless of a judge's, let's say, personal politics. Um, 'Cause I have come in contact with judges who may be on one or another end of the spectrum politically, but their style of interpretation does not necessarily match um, what you might expect, um, and
Oh, I agree. I would say
some of them are just mean.
Justice Amy would be a good example of that, where she's got her politics in the road she likes to go down. But there are a few times when it's like, what did she say? That's interesting.
Yeah, And so I think generally what it you often has a lot more to do with their interpretational style than it does with, well, interpretational style and courtroom style, how they run their courtroom. That has a lot more as an attorney coming in. I'm far more concerned with whether or not I'm going to get yelled at
Hmm.
for accidentally, not having my, font right or something. Um, and that kind of thing, or using an argument that's esoteric when this judge doesn't like those, or you know
Right. Right.
that
So
sort of thing.
true. Local rules are important. And I think I had heard a clip too from one of the administrative attorneys, I guess that's what I'll call them, where they've said, well, we don't care about the local rules. We're here for the Constitution. And I just was thinking, like, wow, you haven't done any trial work, have you?
Yeah, right. uh so that, and that's been actually kind of one of the big things I've been trying to teach people, is to start, particularly right now. It's one of these things where in a normal year we can complain a little bit
Hmm.
more. Right
Yeah.
now I think it's important to focus on um the lack of, I don't know how else to say. I want to say lack of power. That's not what I mean, but the at what the judiciary actually does. The judiciary has a lane, and they do stay in it to a pretty major extent.
Oh, I
And it's part
agree.
of why we don't, as lawyers, get quite as angry about some of these things, because when the news says, "Oh, this judge did this crazy thing," we know that's not what happened.
Right.
um,
Right. Oh, that's such an important point, too, because when we're looking at the three branches of government, the executive branch right now is all over the place with what they're trying to do. Congress also reaching for that extra power that they're trying to find. But the judicial branch, like we've got our own set of rules over here, and we're not rushing things and trying to do power grabs. So it's like
no,
the only piece that's not after more power. And that's because we just, keep going. We keep doing the
just kind of,
thing.
yeah, to kind of do their thing. Like, and
Hmm.
I'm not loving some of the things they're doing,
Yeah.
but I
Mm,
appreciate their stability.
right, right. Exactly. And
Um,
there has to be something that everybody can agree on. And I think that's one of the things the judicial branch is so important here is because we have to agree we're going to use these rules of evidence. We're going to use these rules of civil procedure. Everybody understands. Now, what exactly happens after that, we can debate, but we have basic understandings for everybody. So no one should have some kind of way out of it. And that's really, I think, comforting to a lot of people. But a lot of people then get upset. Like, why didn't the court go after him? The most recent one was the JGG case, where
yeah,
there was a finding of contempt, right, for probable cause. And people are like, wow, nothing happened. And I keep thinking, like, well, this was actually a pretty interesting situation that we've never seen before. And, if you lose contempt, that's a bummer. But on the other hand, all of the other issues that were involved in that case got moved to other cases.
yeah. I was still a little bit confused. That's the justice or judge, starts with a B, right?
Borisman?
Yeah, yeah,
Boseman?
in a DC district. And the one thing that's still bothering me, I found this, I thought, kind of interesting case in. I was reading my, I still love case books. And I was reading a remedies case book because I was trying to learn more about contempt, because people were asking me questions about contempt, and I was like,
Right.
okay, I know enough, but let me learn. And there was this case in there. And the thing about case books, and for everybody down there, for you guys all to know, the thing about case books is they tend to, well, they tend to be what we would call textbook cases, things that you
Hmm.
really aren't going to argue about unless they tell you this is an outlier, which they'll do. Um, but they'll also give you kind of one end of a spectrum, so that a set of facts and a set of law that is all the way on one side, and you can build from. And so they'll
Hmm.
they'll find a situation that is so out there and is correct, but it's just not going to happen that often. But it's just so out there that you won't have any questions past it, because there's nothing else to ask past it.
Right.
And the situation here was that this group of kids had been protesting. A local judge barred them from protesting or something like that. And in an order that the Supreme Court later said they probably would have found unconstitutional. And rather than appeal that judge's order, that group of students ignored it
Oh,
and went ahead and protested anyway because they said this was an unconstitutional order. We're going to ignore it.
oh my gosh,
And
that's so important right now with that.
I
Oh
know.
my gosh. I'm sorry, I got too excited. Go
Oh, I
ahead, go
know, I
ahead.
know, I know. And so they get held in contempt. And then they appeal the contempt order. And it goes all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court says, look, if you'd brought us that first thing, we would love to have talked about that. But you didn't. You guys just ignored the original order and you were held in contempt. And you were in contempt because you didn't appeal the first thing. You just ignored it. You can't ignore the first thing. It's right. It may not be right, or rather, it may not be right, but a court needs to come in and tell you it's not right. You don't get to decide it's not right because people are going to disagree on whether or not something's unconstitutional. There's a reason we have a court system. They're the ones who are trained to make these determinations, and they get held accountable if they get it wrong.
Right.
So, so this was and people really did not like my video on this. They got very, very angry about it because essentially what I'm saying is if you are given an unconstitutional order, you have to follow it.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
But
they hate that. They hate that so
it's
much.
I love this is my favorite. I love the hat with the mustache.
Ah,
Um, but it
love it.
is kind of true in the sense that you have to appeal it
Right.
because you don't get to just decide on your own. I don't like this law, and therefore I'm going to just decide it's unconstitutional.
And let's clarify, we're not talking about anything that's asking you to do something illegal.
No,
Right? So everyone, we're all on the same page. If
yeah,
there's something that's unconstitutional coming down that would harm someone or lead to an illegal act, that's a different can of
and
beans.
yeah, and again, this is an outlier case. This is all the way on one side
Right.
because it's supposed to demonstrate that when the court gives you an order and you don't like the order, you have to appeal it first.
Right. Right.
That's the deal. That's what has to happen. And so, um,
I'm wondering too, as I continue to interrupt you, sorry.
no, no, no. I honestly, I was reading this case like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm thinking of all these things like, oh, I don't know. But when I was watching that case
Hmm.
where the the judge gave an order, the executive branch ignored it, and then went ahead did it anyway, and then later um, appealed the consent or the contempt. I thought this feels like exactly the same thing, and I was a little bit
Yeah,
not thrilled with the outcome because that does not feel like it's consistent. So anyway,
I agree. I
it's really
agree.
bothering me because I didn't love that case to begin with, but it felt like at least a good, you know, place we could
Build from.
start with.
Yes.
Um, an
I'm
extreme
wondering,
situation we can talk about.
one piece of that I continue to wonder about is if they keep trying to use taking the contempt road and appealing that because it's easier to win because of the burden of proof as opposed to the actual civil case itself. So that's one
Oh,
question I
absolutely.
kept thinking is like, are they trying to bump this into something where legally you're more likely to win because it's just has a different set of rules or what? So that was another thought that I had.
Very possible. And I know, by the way, guys, like I'm telling you, when I made a video about that case, I got some very, very angry responses.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
understand how angry people were because it doesn't sound great. And again, I was just reading the case. Um, but it does have a this little piece of cornerstone wisdom
Hmm.
that should be usable for something. Anyway, whatever.
Yes. Well, I agree. And I think a lot of times, our audience, hi chat, our audience is made up of people who are interested in the law or have
Right.
worked in the law and those kinds of things. And when some people come in and they're saying, well, this isn't how it's supposed to work, it's just more of a question of, well, you didn't know how it was supposed to work before. And we're going through this kind of metamorphosis, in my opinion, in
Yeah.
society where they're trying to figure out how the system actually works. So if this was my case for JGG and, my contempt got tossed, I'd be like, all right, let's keep going forward. We
Right.
we still have other things we've got to do. But here it's like it's
I,
so it's so intense. People are very
yeah.
upset and they get really mad. Like, what's the use of judges anyway? What's the use of the system anyway? Meanwhile, we're just kind of plugging along. Like, that was a Tuesday for us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all the time you're like, but this is absolutely has to come out this way, and it just doesn't. And you're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
win some, lose some. I'm trying to find I was looking to see if my remedies book was right here, so I could at least tell you guys the case name because I found it such an interesting case. And I'm looking for my remedies book, and I don't see it. But anyway, my books tend to migrate. Um,
Yes, I understand.
too many books.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but anyway,
All right.
but it was an interesting one, and
It sounds like it. And that's one of the biggest issues, right? And one of the big pieces that everyone keeps asking, like, how are we going to hold him accountable if they start not following judicial orders? I mean, that's huge. And they're
yeah,
kind of shrugging it off in multiple cases. But this was the first case where we really had a judge come in and say, this was bad faith. You did this in bad faith. You know it. And I have found there's probable cause here. And that's one piece to it. But then the next piece comes, what exactly is that language you used? And how is the judge supposed to know that? I mean, how many orders do we have where a judge is telling an attorney to turn planes around?
yeah,
Right? I mean, he's like doing the best he can with what he has, and the Court of Appeals is like, well, that's not good enough. Like, I get it, but we still have to follow the rules.
yeah. And I do think, well, I don't know if anybody, I don't know who appeals that, but I really wanted to hear that one go up further. And I also did not look at what I saw it come out, and I was like, I wonder if anybody brought up that case because um when it's in a textbook, it feels
Yeah,
like it's one that should be
it's
well known.
solid. It's solid. All right.
Um,
Well, that was a fun side trip, but let's
yeah.
dive back in here to the case.
All right.
So the first question then, was he a private citizen or public? And that is going to be very important for the test that we use. And I think it's fair to say it was, public, especially if he's labeling himself as president. So now that we have
Yeah.
that, I wanted to walk through what those elements are for a public person when it comes to defamation.
So the public test, it's essentially a when something actually false is written about a public person, then it must be proven by the public person, by the plaintiff, that the uh, piece of information was published with actual malice. And that's the big thing is that it's done with actual malice. I'm gonna pull up my notes just so I'm
Right,
forgetting
right,
my um, so that it's yeah, that it's done. It's that no knew or should have known
right. So
standard, and that's
yeah,
basically it.
the intentional piece versus the negligent piece in that.
Yeah,
Like they just were walking down the road and didn't really look and make sure everything was how it's supposed to be. I think that's interesting because, too, the best defense to defamation is the truth. And I
yeah,
find it fascinating because they're asking for a jury trial here and they're already trying to get expedited discovery. That's been knocked down. But when you start pulling evidence and putting it in front of a jury and the jury becomes the fact finder, then I feel like in defamation cases, everyone's kind of walking a bit more even that way because it's not us saying that you defamed us, it's the jury that says it. There
yeah,
are fact finders, and we need to put all of these pieces in front of them, like in the E. Jean Carroll case, where the jury was like, we only need an hour to decide this. We're
yeah.
done.
Well, and so I am. just for fun, I mean, if this information is proven to be not false, then that's the case. That's the end of the case. It has
Yeah.
to be false for it to be libel anyway.
Right.
Um, but if it's not false, that's really where we even wander into this actual malice standard. Now, the question, of course, is that I haven't seen it, and as far as I know, it has not been out in the public yet. So um, we don't know. There is no huge piece of information demonstrating to me 100% that it is not false. So the
Right.
really big question then is how much evidence did the publishers have that it was false, if it is in fact false?
Right. I mean, that's
Um,
so important too. I feel like everyone needs to be a little extra careful right now to make sure that what they're putting out there is proper. And so part of me is thinking, oh my gosh, they wouldn't have put this out there if they hadn't double checked, triple checked it. But on the other hand, it's like, well, we're people, we make mistakes. So
yeah,
I'm not sure either how that's going to fall.
and generally the idea is that if you have a piece of information that is going to hurt someone, if you are a publisher, and publish in this sense of the word means putting out into the atmosphere
Right.
where people can see it.
Right.
So if you are a publisher of information and you have a data point that will hurt someone if it when it gets out there, um, if that person is a private person, you need to check more to make sure that it's true than you do if they are a or a public person.
Right. You
If
have a
it's a public person,
higher
yeah,
duty.
it's if it's a public person, it is more important for the rest of the public to see that information than for them to learn it about a private person, and therefore we're going to lower the duty um, before you can put it out there, and before and raise the standard before someone can sue you for it.
Right, right, exactly. And that brings me actually to another piece of defamation itself that I was noting is there has to be this harm, right, to reputation. That
Yes.
piece is very
Well,
important. And
ah
I'm
ha ha
wondering,
ha ha.
oh no,
Ah,
what?
ha, 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 ha.
All right, tell
Okay,
us.
so this is fascinating, and I'm a little bit confused. So way back in the day, so part of the reason that libel and slander are so confusing is that at one point you had a printing press or you had speaking. You know, did I go out and say something bad about this person, or did I print up did I spend hours printing up a pamphlet and walking door to door handing it out? Those
Right,
are
right,
two very different things, right? So
right,
on the one hand, when you have a printing press where you have to set the little letters in there and do all that stuff and run the machine and whatever, we're going to have a different set of rules for those two, for saying something that is false one way or the other.
right,
And those are libel and slander. And the problem is that we no longer have those same lines because today my voice is recorded.
right.
And sometimes it's recorded on my phone and nobody ever hears it again.
Yeah,
Sometimes it goes out to a couple of people if I send a video to somebody. Sometimes it goes out to 100,000 people.
right,
So what is libel and what is slander anymore?
right. That's such
And
a huge,
yeah,
huge, huge question.
and libel and slander each had their own rules about. I'm sorry, what were you were just talking about this? About damages,
Right, right,
and how much you had to prove about damages. And unfortunately, the decision tree on this is so complicated that I don't think I can bring it back up in my head at the moment. But the point is that there is a very very complicated decision tree about, if this, then this, then if that, you when you do and don't need to prove certain levels of damage to still succeed in libel and to still succeed in slander. They have all their own rules.
Right. And I think a
Um,
really good demonstration of that's what happened with his New York cases, where there was a finding of defamation. And so that was done. And then they had to set another mini trial to determine damages. Like, how far is the reach of the publication and how much damage comes back to you? Because we're not just talking about the town square anymore. We're talking about the entire world can get information. And that's something he emphasized in this case with the Wall Street Journal. Was like, it went viral and everybody saw it and it hurt my reputation every single time. I think it'd be difficult to prove, but exactly, we've got these parameters set for defamation. It kind of gets messy.
and I'm looking back to see if I can find where my notes are on this, because this is where it gets super messy. Um, but there are versions. I just don't. I know I have it written here somewhere, but can't even read my own notes. There are some versions of, I want to say, slander where you don't have to prove um, actual damages. Think this is right. I'm going to go out on a limb here and hope this is right. At the end of the day, there's some way I can say this that is correct, and I apologize if I'm not doing it. But let's just say it's
That's
slander.
okay.
There are there are like four types of slander. Two of them you can do without proving damages, and one of them is per se, and one of them is
Right.
per quad.
Right.
Um, but this is libel, so it's irrelevant.
Well, now my understanding though is that the per quote situation that I say incorrectly
That's right.
is specific to libel. That was my understanding, even though they pled it as just
Then it may.
defamation
So
without putting.
that's the thing, is that what he did here was plead them as, so libel per quote existed briefly,
Mm-hmm.
but for something really specific that I don't think exists anymore.
Yeah.
But slander, and it never provided what they want here, if I got it right. Slander per se and per quote might have,
Mm-hmm.
but this isn't slander.
Right.
And so what I think they did is call it defamation per se and per quote, to try
You catch
to
everything.
catch everything
Yeah. That's
and
what I thought
explain
too.
how they're getting damages without damages, because
Right.
it does not make sense. And I remember I had it all kind of out on the whiteboard trying to figure out what the heck they were trying to do.
Right.
And um and I couldn't, because it did not make sense. And I can, for those of you just listening, I can't even imagine what this sounds like. But
No,
it's
it sounds
but
great.
that was the best I could figure out, is that they were or he was, I guess his name, him, Alejandro Brito, was trying to stretch this kind of non-existent libel per se into slander per se, um use the damages from slander per se by calling this libel per se, and then just call the whole thing defamation per se and hope nobody noticed.
Right. That's what I thought.
Or Florida
Uh-oh.
is crazy,
Right, right.
which is a possibility.
It always is a possibility. Oh my gosh.
Now, as I
But
was looking into this, I found that New Jersey has very restrictive laws on per se and per quote, and that this would absolutely not fly in New Jersey by any stretch. This would have collapsed. The judge would have thrown this out immediately under New Jersey law.
and something
Um,
really to note too with your New Jersey law piece is that defamation's really a state
mhm.
legislated issue. Like if the only reason it's in federal court is if there's some diversity going on, so from different state to different state, but its home is with the state statutes. And it's interesting to see how they're taking this federal case and saying, well, partly Florida, partly the rest of the world, partly Florida, partly the rest of the world, and that's where they got their diversity for a federal situation.
And that is where, so from there, as I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on, and I was looking also at this other Stephanopoulos order and seeing, oh, things in Florida might be a little different. I came across a bill that was passed, or no, it didn't pass, but it was attempted to be passed in Florida last spring, um, that would have uh, made any false statement automatically actual malice.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
it was a rebuttable presumption, but that shifts the burden to the defendant, which is
wow.
huge. And the idea, the guy who was pushing it said something like, forget the quote, but it was something like journalists have had it too easy for too long, or something like,
Goodness
oh my God.
gracious. Yeah.
So
Hi, First Amendment. We miss you.
yeah, so while it didn't survive, I do think that the Florida rules on this might be a little different. Um,
I
I
wouldn't be
don't know.
surprised.
And that might be why all of these cases are getting filed in South Florida.
I think, that's valid. I think that's valid. Every Florida one though so far has not been doing good.
Yeah.
So let's take a look here. I've had a lot of people in the chat saying, "Can we ask questions?" So we'll pause here in the lecture and and take some questions if you're
Yeah.
okay with that, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I got
No, no, not at all. No, no, I'm the same. I'm the same. All right,
get a little yammery.
who's got questions? I think that's why we're good attorneys, right? Because we can yammer.
Definitely.
All right, here you
Definitely
go.
part of it.
You've got gorgeous hair. Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Not
I
a
miss my
question.
gorgeous hair. Remember my gorgeous hair.
That's right.
I just cut it all off.
Oh, that's okay. It comes back. It comes back.
Yeah.
All right,
I
here's one. If
swish.
it's
I
true,
swish.
can he still sue for defamation? Ooh, that's a great one. So if they find out the information is true, can he still go forward with his lawsuit?
I mean, he can.
But you're not going to win,
No, not
right?
likely. I mean, I never say never, but not likely.
Right. That's how it's supposed to
Actually,
be.
yeah, and I would think that as a matter of law, it would be, I think that one of the requirements are damage. So there are four requirements. Something has to be published, it
Mhm.
has to be false, it has to be damaging, and it has to be, what am I missing number four? Quick,
Causation
quick,
or
quick.
intent.
Yeah, probably, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I knew there were four.
Right, right,
But it does have to be false.
right.
So as a matter of law, it could probably be dismissed.
I agree. I agree. All right, what's next? What about standing in defamation? Hmm. What do you think about
You would
that?
have to, you'd have to, well, so this is, if there are these options to bring defamation cases where you have no actual damage,
Hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know either. And sometimes I even get confused when the courts reach out into the future and they look at the remedy. And I think of that when we had the US Supreme Court just last session saying that there was local ordinance and nothing had happened yet, but it would happen in the future, so they were able to rule on the case.
Yeah, which is kind of contrary to, I'm looking to see, there's no standing section. There is a jurisdiction and venue.
Mm, yeah,
Parties are diverse. Amount in controversy is greater than,
right. That got us into federal court.
yeah, personal jurisdiction, tortious act in the state.
Well, here are two pieces out of the defamation per quad that I was looking at that I thought was so interesting. And again, to determine whether or not you are connected enough to be able to bring a lawsuit for standing. One is that it's not apparent, but is proven by extrinsic evidence showing injurious meaning. So if you are meaning to harm, but the harm doesn't actually occur itself, I think that's kind of where you were going with that piece. And the second is it's apparent, but it's not a statement that's articulable per se. So it's there, but it's not included in a specific statement. So those are both two pieces of the per quad situation. But when we're
Which is,
talking
yeah. Sorry.
when when we're talking about standing, the key here is that you have to have enough interaction in order to have something in front of the court for standing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really do feel like, when I'm hearing um, this discussion about, when we're kind of couching this whole thing, this public-private figure discussion, that seems to bypass that discussion a bit. Um, and I wonder again whether that's part of using defamation per se and per quote rather than
Slander or libel.
slander or libel, is to try to sort of put a little Vaseline on the lens and
Right.
um, make it a little harder to see what's actually happening there. And I think when I saw
I
that,
don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before. Put some Vaseline on the lens. Like
it's a
what?
that's an old
What?
film term. That's how you would kind of make everything look a little blurry, so you couldn't see
Okay.
the aging actors.
I was
You put a little,
confused. It makes perfect sense now. I'm
yeah,
gonna start doing that.
makes it just a little blurry.
Oh,
Um,
I love it. I love
and
it.
blurs everything together. But when if they got this same judge again that they got in the ABC case, which they don't know when they filed this, they didn't know who they were going to get.
Right, right.
So if they'd gotten that same judge again, they probably would have gotten away with some more shenanigans than they did um, from whatever. So
All right. Any more questions down there, everybody? You're asking some great ones that we are trying to give you answers to. The best that we can. Is it? No, I'm not going to say that out loud. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, I just saw that.
Here's why didn't he sue Elon? Oh, well, I'm not sure. Has Elon caused harm to his reputation? What kind of damage has he done? I think we'd have to somehow quantify that in order to bring a case against the Elon.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm certain he would have an argument for that. I think that there is uh
Really? Against
I,
Elon?
yes. But here's the thing. So Donald Trump really, really likes defamation cases.
Mm-hmm.
This is something he's been famous for since the 80s. Not always using them, but threatening them. He threatens them all the time. It's like his favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's how he spends his Wednesdays. So, but I think that he doesn't always do it, and he tries to get his way with them, whether or not he actually takes them to trial or not. Trial is not necessarily the thing he normally does. It's usually just threatening people with lawsuits, and people know that he has enough money to outspend them.
Right. He's just a bully,
Yeah.
I think. And he
And
terrorizes people with the legal system.
so I don't think he can out bully Elon Musk.
Ooh, good point. That's a good
And I
point.
think Elon Musk has more information on him than so he doesn't want to necessarily poke that bear too hard.
Oh, I
He
think you're right.
certainly doesn't want to do it in court where there's discovery.
Right. Well, and with this particular case too, this discovery issue, I'm thinking this was kind of one of those moments where, yeah, he's calling him out for bad behavior. But if they keep going forward on this case with the amount of discovery that's going to come out, like there's a lot of information that he would probably not want to have the public see. So was it smart that he filed it, or should he have gone another route?
The expedited discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that that was a temper tantrum.
Mm,
I think that his concern was that he wanted to know where the information was coming from, and he wanted to know it now.
right.
Um, and I think either where it was coming from or something like there was some piece of information that he wanted now because he was probably about to say something, and he wanted to make sure before he said it that whatever they had um, was not going to get contradicted. Just a guess. I mean, this is just a
Could
guess. I
be.
don't know,
That
but
could be.
this is just logic looking at the whatever.
I think
Um,
he assessed that though without recognizing that discovery goes both ways.
also that, but well, but yeah, yes. But you'll also notice that he settled, and so I think what happened is he got the one thing he wanted, whatever it was.
Right.
So there was one thing I think that he wanted immediately, and he got that.
Yeah.
So that was the thing that he wanted. He got it. Now he's fine
He's ready to go forward. Yeah. Yikes.
because
Um,
they've withdrawn. I mean, they've withdrawn that expedited discovery, and there was just an order on the docket, as moot or whatever.
right, right,
This thing. Yeah. So,
right.
um,
Well, here, I've got another question for you, Brian. I know we're still taking questions from the chat, but I got questions too.
all right.
So here's my question. Let's just say all of this goes through. The jury's been picked. We're getting ready to go forward. What do you think would be the best pieces of evidence that the defendants can use? What are they needing in order to prove that they did not defame him? I'm just curious, like what would that
Oh,
look like
sorry.
evidentiarily?
So a couple of things. First, I mean, the absolute best would be, they said a document exists. He said it didn't. Show us the document.
Right.
End of conversation. If it is true, then this conversation ends. But let's just say that it is false, that it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
What they need to prove are there are one of two things. Either the two standards are either that they 100% knew as a
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact that this was false, and um, they ran it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So any kind of internal communications with them saying that they are pretty sure that this is true
Mm-hmm.
would defeat that probably.
Okay.
But the other thing is that they need to show, and I believe it is something like I'm trying to remember the actual standard, but it's something like more likely than not, or something. It's not a big standard. It's like 50, more than 50% that they believed it was true, and that they tried to make sure that it was true or something. Gosh, I wish I had. It's
Is it
right here.
Whenever you say that, I think
Um,
of preponderance.
it's not exactly preponderance. It's its own
Clear,
standard, and I
clear
really
and
wish that I had just found it. It's right here, and it's probably.
clear and
There's a
convincing.
Jimmy.
If you have
Um,
reasonable doubt, I'll just throw out all the burdens of proof for you.
oh, it's just so it's not a reasonable. It must be. Let's see here.
Hmm.
Uh, Sufficient evidence to permit the conclusion that the defendant, in fact, entertained serious doubts as to the truth of his publication.
Right.
So that is a high standard, and it's four high standards. They have to have, in fact, entertained serious doubts as to the truth of the publication. So if they have evidence that demonstrates that they heard from Donald Trump when
Mm-hmm.
he said this isn't true,
Mm-hmm.
and they heard from their other sources, and they can demonstrate through email chains or things like that that their other sources were more reliable,
Mm-hmm.
that's all they need.
Okay.
That defeats it. Um,
I agree. I agree with you. I think defamation cases, again, can be really complicated or very simple. Just determine once you figure out if you've got a piece of evidence that's going to show you this is the truth and you authenticate that. I've always found that fascinating with defamation.
the other thing, by the way, is in order to demonstrate that their other people are more reliable, evidence that Donald Trump is less reliable, which I think there is a lot of evidence that Donald Trump will say anything to contradict a story that is not in his favor.
Oh my gosh, yes. Can we
So
use can we use can we
any
use prior
evidence of that
convictions? What about the prior
is going to.
convictions? Can we use that?
I don't know about, but if that's what you were trying to prove, that you had two different sources and you believed one over the other,
Right.
So, by the way, I would like to show because I always hear from your fans
What?
about your how excited they are about your color coding and things. And so I just have
Oh,
to show that this is what all of my stuff looks like with all
oh,
of my color
brilliant.
coding. Um,
I knew we would just get along really well.
yeah, it's a lawyer problem,
It
guys.
really is. It really is, everybody.
Um, and I think that all lawyers are we all have our own private neurodivergences that we have to deal
Yes.
with.
Or not
And so
private.
we're not private, but I mean our own personal ones, and we all deal with them in our own way. So,
That's right.
but color seems to be a lot of us do it
Yeah.
in color. We have just my colorful my pens and my markers and my
Oh, I love it.
everything.
I love it. I love it.
So many colors.
All right. Somebody in the chat asked me to ask you to show your nails.
My nails? Oh, these no, just have nails.
That's the other thing is I do a lot of
Oh,
nails.
I see. No, I don't have exciting nails, I'm afraid.
No,
My only
that's
exciting nail is I had this one when I was little, got cut off,
oh
and
my
so
goodness. Oh
it got
wow.
sewed back on, but it
Okay.
does look a little weird
Wow.
because it was like when I was like 7.
That turned dark fast.
Sorry, it's fine. It's totally fine.
Okay.
You know, it feels great. It's just, but it does. The nail does look a little weird.
All right. Well, if you do decide to pick up some acrylic nails, just let me know. I can give you
All
some
right.
advice.
Okay. I
For
don't. I
sure.
think I would. I have enough trouble like getting through life as it is. I think I would hurt myself,
Oh
and
no.
I would just drop things all the time. It would just yeah,
Probably so. Probably. It takes, it takes some time. You got to get used to it. You got to get
yeah,
used to it. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so bringing it back. I do a lot of side roads with the ADHD that I love about myself.
yeah.
Yikes. All right. So let's see. Oh, yeah. What about the all right, so I gotta be careful with the name here. What about the lady in the prison that has been moved
Oh,
to another prison? What are our thoughts on that? I mean, and how would she possibly be able to testify? She would, that I feel like the impeachment or the cross would be just absolutely atrocious.
um, this is a whole conversation. I have a whole conversation about you were a prosecutor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I have
I'm
a
sorry if I
whole
put anybody you knew in jail.
I nah. If you did, they probably deserved it. Hold on, I gotta grab something that I
Sure.
think is right here. Sorry.
No, no
Um,
problem.
Found this article the other. Nope, that's not it. Damn it. Okay. Well, I thought it was right there, and I grabbed the wrong one. It was pink, and I thought I had the right one. There was this great Yale Law Review article on why it is so important to have the independence of prosecutors is so important.
Yes.
And it started out with this idea that there is no one more. I actually just thought I brought it over here. There's no one more independent in American society than the prosecutor, because the power of the prosecutor is so broad and so unchecked
Mm-hmm.
um, by design,
Right.
uh, and that this is like just this incredibly important cornerstone of America operating. That prosecutors be completely without limitations and without strings. Um, and
That's why we can indict ham sandwiches.
it's why we can indict ham sandwiches. It's also why we can release people all the time. You know, the
Yeah.
number of cases that I dismissed. Oh, it always made my day. I loved dismissing cases, and I dismissed so many.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the amount of freedom that you have as prosecutor is really, really high. And you say so somebody just said the prosecutors are the enablers of dirty cops. You are not correct at all. prosecutors are the check on dirty cops.
Yeah, they hate
When
us.
we see something, yeah, cops hate the
They
prosecutors.
hate the prosecutors.
Uh, when cases come in and we don't see a good, you know, good police work or anything, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's out the door. Um, they really did not like me. Um, so this is just anyway. So when I see something like that, a situation like that, where
Mhm.
a prosecutor is operating so firmly within the political system
Yeah.
and stepping in one of these cases because of political pressure, it upsets me on so many different levels. I
Yeah.
don't even know where to start, and I don't know where to go. I'm so upset about that
Mm.
that I don't know what to say about her
Yeah, I
because
agree. I agree. Like when it feels like, especially right now with what's happening in the United States, if anyone is like, well, I don't really care, do whatever it is you're going to do, and then people go and do it, people are going to get hurt. So, like right now is the most important time to really step up and say, these are my ethics, this is what the case is about, this is how I'm
Mhm.
going at it, as opposed to, I mean, moving her, I get it. There were some danger questions, and I get that. I get that. But the timing is pretty suspicious. And I think the fact that that Blanche fella was talking to her, like there was no other attorney that could do it. I mean, that again shows this kind of like too close for comfort situation with the executive branch. I'm not sure how helpful she would actually be. I mean, going back to whether or not to use her in trial, I'm not sure how helpful she would be because she just doesn't have that level of trust. I mean, she's got so many lying situations going on with her, and a huge. This is another thing that bothered me. Right. Just quick side note with Abrego Garcia. Do you remember Abrego?
Mhm.
So in Tennessee, they've charged him. And
Yeah.
the two primary witnesses were people who have been arrested and deported multiple times. And they've come back in and they're working as part of this group to participate in the trafficking stuff. So they gave both of them absolute immunity. They said, you don't have to go to prison ever again. We will get rid of your sentences. We'll get rid of everything if you come in and testify in this case. That is, in my opinion, such an abuse of power. And it just always drives me bonkers. So I'm a bit the same with that.
Yeah, that is problematic. Oops, sorry, I think that is it's yeah, it just so I also just so there was a thing I saw in Abrego Garcia the other day where the question they brought up the question of whether the the rest of the federal government usually you're not allowed to bring in information about a plaintiff or a defendant who that would taint the jury pool.
Right,
No,
right.
I'm not allowed to go out on local television and start saying bad things about a defendant so that when we call in a random jury of 12 people, they
Mhm.
already hate the guy.
Right,
Um,
right.
and those are not only generally the rules, they're specifically the rules in Nashville. It's Rule 2-01 or something like that. And the question was whether that rule applied to, say, Homeland Security, who was also going on the news and making these comments.
Ooh, good point.
And the judge said, "Mm, mm." The judge was kind of able to say, judge's response was essentially, uh, look, the officers of the court here, the lawyers are definitely under this rule. And anybody who they work with should, they should be really careful about telling anybody they work with to do anything like this. That would be really a problem.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I don't know if I have the ability to order the entire federal or the entire executive branch to stop saying things.
Right.
Um, so,
There's a lot of
uh,
layers to it for sure.
but I thought that was an interesting addition to that case, um, which is such a bad case.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, it's almost time for us to wrap up here. Did you have any like overall conclusory closing statement pieces that you would like to share?
I think just that, I one of my favorite things about studying something like defamation is where you get to go back to the 1600s and follow one idea that maybe wasn't great in its origin. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. Then watch them get abused a little bit, watch them change based on that abuse. Um, Watch the Constitution. Oh, thank you. Watch the Constitution get written in response to some of that abuse, and
Right.
then watch them evolve over time. And these old common law y sort of things are really fun for that, and they allow you to get a lot of context and to really understand a legal concept in a way that is a little bit different than one where you're just kind of learning today's version of it.
Right.
So it's I think that's a lot of fun, and I think that makes this um, pretty cool and a pretty cool thing to study.
I agree. I'm with you on that completely. The history of how we got to where we're at in this moment to me is just so important. It's
Yeah.
not, you can't just look and say, oh, well, they dismissed this. It's like, well, let's take a look at what led to this as opposed to the final action. Although that's something I'm noticing in our society that people, I mean, I don't know if my posts aren't that long, but if I go in and try to do a little bit of context, people are like, get to the point. Like that's not the how the field works. That's not how we do things in the law land. We have to go back and start looking at where this all came from.
Well, and I
So,
get that a lot too. A lot of I get it somewhat. At this point, early on, I got it a lot. At this point, I get it sometimes.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes, especially somebody who sees me for the first time is like, "What are you doing? That was
mm-hmm,
a 10-minute video. Who on
right,
earth is going to watch this nonsense?" But the problem is, but I can't. I there's no way to get through this
right.
in 3 minutes and actually and not skip out things that are part of the story and are required to understand what's going on. And that's why watching the news is a problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
um,
absolutely, absolutely.
and so somebody has to tell you the full story. And so yeah, that's why we're here.
Exactly, exactly right. So, with that, I will go ahead and close us for today. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for coming in, Brian. I hope we can do
Thank
this
you so
again.
much. Yes, I would love to. I love this. This is great.
That would be fabulous. It's
We
been
should do
just a
casa.
great discussion. Oh my gosh, I just
Ah!
finished annotating that one.
Oh, it's terrifying.
We'll do something fun. But take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be back again soon. And Brian, it's been a pleasure.
It really has. Oh, can I got a plug. Can I may I plug?
Yes,
I'm
please.
I'm working on a new project, guys. Every Monday through Friday, I'm doing a morning report. It's just a quick run through of the kind of less noticed federal court cases related to the current administration, just what's happened in the last 24 hours or so. They're almost never out first thing in the morning because I it takes me a little while to do them, but please watch them because nobody's watching them yet.
Oh no, go watch them, everybody.
Yes.
All right. Have a good